Hey guys, good morning. What's up? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing great. Okay. Kumustas, kumustas. Well, anyways, before we start, actually, we're gonna start right away. In this week's topic, we are gonna talk about market segments and consumer behavior. So when we talk about market segments, what are the factors that affect the way we find something, something about the market segments. Like for example, we're gonna talk about the demographic, the geographic, the psychographic, and all the things that will affect how we we target the market or we target our customers. So those are the things we have to look into. And also when we talk about consumer behavior, what are the factors also that affect the way we think and behave about a certain product, or what are the factors that will affect our decision to buy this certain kind of thing or a product that we like. Okay, so these are the things that we are going to talk about. That's why by the end of this discussion, it is expected of you to be able to define the different buying roles, to identify the factors that affect consumer behavior, differentiate the different kinds of buying behavior. Okay, that's what we're gonna talk about. And for the segments, define market segments, identify the key premises behind market segmentation, and select a viable target market. So that's everything that we're gonna talk about. That's everything that we have to accomplish in this discussion. Okay, let's get on to it. Okay, next slide. All right, lesson number one: consumer behavior. In the book that I'm referring to, or in the book that I'm referring to, or I'm using, we have four different factors that affect our behavior as consumers. Number one is culture. So, what do we mean by culture? Culture is somehow it pertains to social classes that we have, or something that we we grew up believing in, or something that affects our character or attitude in life. Let's say, for example, let's say, or the influences that we have. Let's say, for example of a culture is the Bocolano culture. We are known to be iya iya, aho aho. Well, that's part of our culture. The food that we eat here. Um, let's say Bicol, and what other place in the let's not talk about Bicol. Let's talk about Japanese food and Filipino food, diba? So those are the kinds of culture. We have different taste buds, di ba? Kay kung ato to sa Japan, yan yung lasa silang pagkaon because that's part of their culture. When we eat in the Philippines, when we eat in the Philippines, like we have specific tastes that we're after. Typically, we look for the taste like kanang tamis, sweet, sour, and bitter. No, parat, salty. So those are the things that we look into when we eat something. When we eat Japanese, they have different set of tastes that they're looking into. So when we say culture, for example, also, kung naay pagkaon, let's say for example, Japanese food, ibutang nimo sa Philippines, you wouldn't expect it to taste like how it tastes in Japan because it the taste of that Japanese food will somehow be affected by our culture, or the things that the ingredients that we have here, the things that we do here. Kailangan mo the primary market when we put Japanese restaurants in the Philippines, the primary market are Filipinos. That's why we also have to address the taste buds of the Filipinos. That's why we have to address the taste buds also of the Filipinos. That's why the taste of that certain kind of product from that Japanese food is gonna change because of the culture that we have as Filipinos. So these are examples of culture, how we behave. They say that they say that um, Americans are more liberated compared to Filipinos. Like we Filipinos are considered to be kanang mahinhin, or Filipinos are considered to be kanang, what do you call that? Very conservative. So that's part of our culture. That's how we grew up. That's what we believe in growing up. Okay, so those are culture. The next one is social factors. So what are social factors? Social factors um, are the reference groups, the family, the roles and status. This is all about the norms of behavior among even smaller groups, namely the social groups where consumer belongs to. Okay, social factors means your for example your family, your family. Uh, your family wants your family keeps on buying this certain product because that's what they like, diba? So the tendency is unsay ilang ganahan mo sa imong maganahan, because you are affected by the wants and the needs of the family members. But you have somehow you have to conform, makaawat ka kay kung unsa imong naandan sa imong pamilya, eventually maka-affect na sa imong decision sa pag-buy og specific product. Kay example, mao na tigpalit ni mama, mao sa akong paliton, right? So that's part of social factors. Unsaon pag-affect sa mga tao palibot nimo ba? Ang influence sa mga tao sa palibot nimo, ang influence sa mga tao sa imong palibot. So that's social factors. The second, no, the third one. I'm sorry, I missed to change number. But anyways, the third one is personal factors. So what are personal factors? When we say personal factors, it's about age, the life cycle stage, your occupation, economic circumstances. So these are personal factors. Imuhang personal nga preferences or somehow not affected by your family or the culture. These are personal factors. For example, when we talk about age, for example, you are a fresh graduate. You have a job, a good job, a great job. You earn about 30,000 a month. That's a good pay. 30,000 a month. You're earning 30,000 a month, and you have and we're gonna compare it with a person who is aging, or an elderly person. For example, imuhang lola, imuhang lola, imuhang lola. So tiguwang na about 70s. So the age that you have, it's going to be different. The things that you want to buy, the things that you want to buy, that you want to buy are different from the things that your lola also wants to buy, diba? Kaya ikaw, bata pa man ka, your preferences is to buy things that you will have fun of, diba? Like gadgets. They want to buy gadgets, laptops, games, or other things nga ganahan nimo kaayo. When we compare it to your lola, uh, she's more she's more wanting or needing to buy something that will complement her health. For example, vitamins or food supplements that would make her life healthier, improve her life. So we have those are personal factors. The age or the economic circumstances, your income, your occupation. For example, your income, you cannot buy this kind of thing because of your income. You're earning 10,000 a month and you want to buy a car, so it's not possible because of your occupation, because of your income. It's still impossible for you to buy a car. So there's these are personal factors. Now, when we go to psychological factors, these are motivations or perceptions or learning, beliefs, and attitudes. Attitudes that we have. So psychological factors, ba? It's somehow connected to your personal. It's somehow connected to the three other factors: the culture, social factors, personal factors. It's it, cunning to look at factors, the culture, the social factors, and the personal factors somehow affects your psychological factors in some sort. Okay, so in some sort, but it's more on the mind, what you have perceived, what you believe in, what are your principles in life. These are psychological factors. Your motivation, yeah. You want to have this job because you want to have this job because it's what you like. Motivation, it's something that motivates you to go on every day, to fight every day. These are motivations in life, or your preferences. Like when we say, when we say music, what is your preference? Your preference is rock. You like rock musics compared to pop musics or soft musics or classical musics. Your favorite music type is rock. So that's psychological factor, and uh, your preferences like your food, your food. Which taste do you like? Which taste do you like? Do you like for example, ice cream? You like cookies and cream better than any other flavors in ice cream. So these are psychological factors. These are psychological factors. This has nothing to do with your. This somehow has nothing to do with your personal factors because this is solely concerned about your preferences, what you like. Okay, so those are psychological factors. Now let's go to the next slide, which is income versus social economic class. Income is a personal demographic factor. It answers to the questions: how much do you earn? How much is your household family income? Okay, let's talk about income first. When we talk about income, that means sweldo nimo. How much do you earn? For your household family, how much does you, when we say how much your household family income is, that's the combined income of your father and mother. And if you're contributing to that, then how much is the total income of you, your mother and father? So that's the income. How much do you earn a month? Let's say, for example. So it's personal. When we say personal, it's not out there. It's not the information is not given publicly because it's personal. You still need to ask permission or to ask the person how much is your income is specifically, and he has to answer that himself. So that's personal. That means personal, private, or private information. That's what it is. Income, your sueldo, your earnings a month. So that's what income is. Now let's go to socio-economic class. It is a social factor. It reflects the consumption reality that the individual strongly believes in. So, what do you mean by it reflects the consumption reality that the individual strongly believes in? Okay, we talked about income. We have already talked about income, imuhang sweldo. Okay, so when we go to social economic class, by the word class, with the word class, that means to say nga gigrupo na siya or by level na siya. So let's say for example, you earn 10K a month. Your friend and earns 50K a month, and your other friend earns 100,000 a month. So you're not in the same class. So maybe the 10K is considered in the lower middle class, and the 50K is considered in the broad middle class, and the 100K a month is considered in the upper middle class, some sort. So there they are in classes. There is an amount bracket. Let's say for example, 10,000 to 20K is part of the lower middle class. So that's the first class, and the second class is, let's say for example, 30,000 to 60,000. That's considered to be the broad middle class. So these are classes. So what do you mean? So those are social economic class, huh? The wealth the wealthiest class, which is known the A prime, the upper income class, the AB, the upper middle class, the upper C, the broad middle class, the broad C, the lower middle class, lower C, and the lowest class, the E. So these are the classes. So what do you mean by it reflects the consumption reality that the individual strongly believes in? Huh? It reflects the consumption reality. Why? Manong mo reflect man siya sa consumption reality? Kay kung unsa ang imong earnings, kung unsay amount sa imong earnings, past tendency ana or obviously what you're gonna buy will reflect to how much you earn. Diba? You're not just gonna buy something really expensive when you know that your income is not that big, diba? Or not that high. So it is somehow predetermined that if you are in this class, say for example, the wealthiest class, ang pinakadato, diba? The elite class or earning, let's say for example, 500,000 a month. So those are the elite classes or the A prime, the wealthiest class. So to this type of family, the wealthiest type of class, buying a car is non-negotiable. Dili na dapat storyahan. Kay ka-afford man ko. Ka-afford man sila. So, mapalit na nako. Wanay daghang storya pa, palito na nako ang car. But for a person who is in the lower class, it's something to be uh, it's something yet to be decided. You have to think a lot about the factors that will affect. O unsay may tabo o palito na nako, makaapas ba ko, excuse me, makaapas ba ko sa bayronon. So those are the things that we have to look into. Ba? So that's why it's called, it reflects this consumption reality that the individual strongly believes in. Kay kung unsay imuhang sweldo, expected, ang yani sa ang amount, ang yani sa ang amount bracket nga imuhang spend. Okay? So that also reflects to the saying nga um, uh, when, when your standard ay kanang kung higher imong sweldo, mas higher pud imong standards of living. So that's some sort of the idea nga kung mohabok imong sweldo, then expected nga imong standards of living saka pud siya, ba? Kay maka-afford naman ka. So that's income versus socio-economic class. Now let's go to the age versus life cycle. It's somehow connected to the personal factors I have mentioned earlier. Okay? When we say age, atong edad. Ba? Atong edad. When we say life cycle, the stages of life. But we have um, bachelor stages. Uh, okay, so to make it simple, age is just a number. Okay, it's age is just a number. It's something that it's important because if we don't have age, then we can't put specifics bitaw o makaingon tag elderly na ba na siya. We won't have those thoughts if wala age. So it all starts with an age, ba? Kung 6 years old ka, then or you're 18 to 18 to 30 nga age, that means you're in the bachelor stage, you are young, you are single, you want to be independent. So that's the age na mo na age mo. But the life cycle, those are the stages that you have to go through. Example, bachelor stage, you are young, you are single, independent, so that's what you are. And for a fullness, three, families with dependent children. So you are married with dependent children. So nagsaligpay mo anak mo. These are life cycles. These are life cycles. There are the things that we are eventually gonna be having later on in our lives. So unsa may connection ana sa pagpalit nimo o sa behavior nimo as consumers. Like what I said earlier in the personal factors. Dili mo same o ganahan sa preferences, ay dili mo same o ganahan sa paliton sa sa tiguang o sa bata. You have different preferences now, which is predetermined by your age. But if you are in the bachelor stage, you want to have fun. You buy things that make you buy things that are fun. So you buy this gadget because it's gonna give you entertainment or something like that. But when you're old, you're looking to buy for something that will improve your performance, your health performance. So this is what we mean by age versus life cycle. As simple as that. Diba? When you are in this stage, when you reach this certain bracket of age, and then you are in this life cycle, then your priorities change. Your priorities change. It's not like you're gonna buy anything because you're in the bachelor stage. But when you're in the fullness, you have to buy practical things like food. You have to prioritize food, shelter, or the needs, diba? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those are the practical things. Okay, so that's age life cycle. Now let's go to the buying roles. Okay, buying roles, we have the initiator, the influencers, the decider, the buyer, and the users. Okay, so what are initiators? Initiators, sila ang mo initiate or sila ang mo suggest, sila ang mo hatog idea. Okay, Valentine's is coming up. So let's say for example si Mikey, no? Si Mikey iyang gingnan niya iyang uyab nga uy palit og flowers ini Valentine's ha. So he initiates siya, he suggests siya siyang uyab nga palit og flowers ning Valentine's. Amo na siya initiate siya suggest, inghatag siya og suggestion sa isa ka tawo nga kung unsa iyang paliton. So that's what an initiator is. That's the first buying role. Now let's go to the second buying role, the influencers. When we say influencers, these are the things that the hmm? These are the things that will influence us on what to buy. Or, for example, promotional ads coming from artists or influencers. These are things nga maka-persuade na to into buying this kind of thing. Or the people's views about the products. It's uh, it's told nga this product is really great according to the reviews of the people. So these are those people are considered influencers because they've provided reviews about a certain product that will also give you insight on your decision making and whether to buy the product or not. If you see negative reviews about a certain about a product, then eventually you're not gonna buy the product, diba? So these are influencers. Let's go to decider. So the one who decides what to buy, who ultimately has a final say on what to buy. So decider, it could be you, it could be you, it could be you ang decider na ikaw mo palit, or it could be your parent if you're still a student, you are if you're still a dependent person. The final decider will be your mother, because financially we have to look into it first, diba? When we, like for example, online learning, you need to buy cell phones or laptops. The final Who has the final say for that? So in some household, obviously the mother or the parents have the final say for that, because they are the ones who are taking care of the finances. Okay, so they are the decider. They get to decide what they really get to decide what the final product they should buy or you should buy. Okay, those are deciders. And the buyer by itself, ang palit sa product, the person who makes the actual purchase, ang the person nga mobayad para sa product. Okay, those are buyers. Now let's go to users. Users, mga tao nga mogamit sa product, but it doesn't necessarily mean nga kung ikaw ang himbay, you are the buyer. It doesn't really mean nga if you're the buyer then you are the user. No, you bought the product. For example, like Emily suggested that for example, Emily suggested to his boyfriend to her boyfriend nga, uy, paliti ko og flowers in kuan ha, ika Valentine's. So he initiated told her boyfriend to buy her flowers during the Valentine's Day, and then her boyfriend buys the product, but the user is Emily. He gets to enjoy what her boyfriend has bought her. Okay, so those are the buying roles. Now let's go to the types of buying behaviors. Okay, so we have basis for buying behavior. We have number one, perception of the product category and the consumer's attitudes toward the product category. Okay, so in the book, by the book, let's use the book. Let's use the book we're using, because the book really gives very understandable one examples. Okay, so first, a consumer can perceive a product category to be simple, complex, or somewhere in between. As an example, example, ikaw mudong ka sa mudong ka sa for example, mudong ka o gadget store because you want to buy product. So what do you mean by perception of the product? Perception of the product are somehow influences or what we perceive coming from coming from the external side, coming from the external side. Like for example, gusto ka mapalit og product. So before you actually buy a product, for example, laptop, that's that involves a lot of research because when you buy dili siya murag dali-dali ra paliton bitaw nga ma-dispose on him after. It's something you have to decide on seriously because it's expensive, di ba? Well, it makes you spend thousands first before you have it. So that's why kailangan pa una-unaan og tarong kinahanglan at first. So your perception of the product. What do we mean by perception of the product? These are coming from the people who bought the product. Okay, these are coming from the research you have about the product. These are coming from the reviews you have perceived, coming from different people who are using the product already. So these are perception. These are factors that affect your perceptions about the product. Your attitude towards the product is unsa may imong na feel pa dong sa product. For example, the product, you research about the product, and the result of your research is that you found a lot of positive reviews, great reviews about this product. So your attitude towards the product is gonna be great. Wow, nindot siya nga product because daghan kay nindot nga reviews. Okay, so that's your attitude towards the product. You want to buy the product because of your perception, daghan kayong positive reviews. So kung daghang negative reviews, then your attitude towards the product declines. So di ko ganahan nga product kay daghan mag negative reviews. So that's what's gonna happen, diba? So let's go to the complex buying behavior. I mean, let's go to the types of still the types of buying behavior. So let's go first with the complex buying behavior. It arises for important purchases where there are so many different features and attributes, with each brand having different manifestations of each feature. The consumer is cognizant of these differences. Houses, cars, and durable goods are some examples of products tend to be met with complex buying behavior. A consumer undertakes a lot of searching and analyzing before any purchase happens. So, complex buying behavior, that means to say you have before you buy something. Let's say let's try to look into the diagram in the slide, di ba? May high involvement in low involvement, and the other side there's few differences between brand and significant differences between brand. So when we say high involvement, ang imuang involvement as a buyer towards attaining that product very high. Like say for example, high involvement. Say for example, in the complex buying behavior, it's it's high involvement. You are highly involved, and involves significant differences between brands. So what do you mean? Excuse me, Saha. There's a call coming. Okay, so welcome guys. Sorry about the interruption, guys. Okay, so where were we? We were discussing about the high involvement and okay, high involvement and significant differences between brand. So when we say complex buying behavior, that means to say you have high involvement into acquiring that product, and you have you look for significant differences coming from different brands. Okay, for example, gusto ka mupalit og sakyanan. So before you actually buy a product, a car, gusto ka nga perfect jud nga kanang inig abot sa imong car, gusto ka nga wa na kay laing pangitaon pa kanang satisfied na jud ka. Satisfied na jud ka sa palito ni mga car. So kung sa uyab pa, if you could only buy a boyfriend or a girlfriend, those are the necessary things na you are looking for para kung abot na sa imo ha, or when you're together already, di na ka mangitag lain pa or satisfied na ka sa gugma nga ihatag sa imong sa mapalit nga uyab. Pero however, we cannot buy boyfriends and girlfriends, but so sadly we can't. Anyways, so let's go back to cars. When we say high involvement, that means to say daghan pa ka kayo gina-research nga gibuhat. Kay gusto ka perfect lagi, gusto ka nga tindot kay gusto ka nga satisfied na abot sa product sa imo. So you made a lot of research about this car, about different cars. Okay, that means to say high involvement because it took you a lot of time before you actually make the final purchase. Okay, you want to be perfect. You want it to be the best car you could ever have. But so high involvement, kay like again, you are really involved into looking for the final product yung paliton. So you're looking for significant differences between brand. You go to Suzuki, you go to Suzuki, you find the product detail, product specifications, then you're gonna look into it. Okay, these are the reviews of the car. These are the say nga na, these are the specifications of the car. Now let's go to Toyota. Okay, it's same class. These are the specifications of the car. Now let's go to Ford. Look for the specifications of the car. Okay, so then you compare it. So unsa may mas better nila? Kinsa may mas better? Siya or siya? Kinsa may mas better nila? So mo to imong pilion. Okay? So you are involved highly into the research, into the buying process, because you research a lot before you actually before you make the final purchase, and you go between different brands to find the differences and which one is better or not. Okay, so that's the complex buying behavior. Now let's go to variety seeking buying behavior. Okay, when we say low involvement but still looks for significant differences between brands. Low involvement, gamay ra imong involvement. You didn't exert a lot of effort at all. Walay daghang effort ka nahitabo para makuha nimong isa ka butang. You just you could just acquire it directly. Okay? Kung sa since Valentine's is coming up really fast, we're gonna talk about kugma-gugmas, no? So para napoy somehow ma-enjoy po ko rin lonely ba po sa Borsigas. Okay, so when we say variety seeking buying behavior, this won't come out really nice. Variety seeking, that means to say suwayan ni mo tanan. Okay, suwayan ni mo tanan. Suwayan and one low involvement because you didn't really exert a lot of effort into finding out what the differences are. You just go on and try. Kanang you get and then you try and then you get to decide kung nindot ba or dili. So low involvement siya because like what I say, you didn't exert a lot of effort, a lot of research in order to find out which one is better or not. You just plainly hey, kinay manguyab nimo, daghang nanguyab nimo, first one that comes knocking to your door, okay, uyab na ta. And then, okay, uyab na ta, sugto na ka. And then, wa ka ganahi. So, imo siyang i-dispose, wa siyang wagad. And then, you're gonna try another one again. You're gonna try another one nga gapila sa imo only ug daghan gapila sa imo you're gonna try another one. So this one. Ah, I like this one. But there's something missing. There's something missing. And then you have to dispose it again until you find the product that you're looking for. This is more on experiential. These people are more or on experiential rather than research. Okay? So so that's what we mean by variety seeking buying behavior. Now, let's go to dissonance reducing buying behavior. So, when we say dissonance reducing buying behavior occurs when a consumer wants to keep life simple and yet the risks faced with the buying decision for an important purchase are perceived to be high. Okay, so the consumer may therefore resort to decisions that simplify life, such as buying brand that most people choose, relying on the decision of trusted friend, or relying the word of a salesperson. That's why appliances consumer benefit greatly from having popular brands. Mainly household appliances tend to be bought this way. Okay, so it's still high involvement. It's still high involvement, but it's still high involvement and but a few differences between brand. Nagya po involvement sa pagpalit, but it's not that high compared to the complex buying behavior because to make it simple, they're more looking for how to simply know what which one to buy. For example, no, mapalit ka o appliance, then you won't like an appliance. You won't be having a lot of research. You're not gonna do a lot of research about this certain product. This is a buying behavior for consumers. I'm somehow guilty about it for some things. Okay, so yan eh. You're gonna buy TVs. You haven't done any research at all because you don't want, but you are looking forward to what the salesperson is gonna tell you. You are looking forward to the reviews of your friends who are using the product. Uy, nga ni akong palitan kay nga ni po daw gipalit ni kumare or ni friend yan yun yan nindot yung reviews mo palitan ako. So that's dissonance buying behavior. Habitual buying behavior is low involvement, few differences between brand, means happens when consumers feel that learning about different competing product is not worth it, so they would rather select the product that they are most comfortable with, that is hoped for by many fast-moving consumer goods such as personal care products, seek to make consumers buy the products out of habit. So habitual buying behavior. When we say habitual, nakanunay na, di ba? Dili siya murag variety seeking buying behavior nga magsigig suway-suway og laing brands. No. So when we say habitual buying behavior, for example, mupalit siya og which one is a product that we constantly buy. Let's say for example, you use Head and Shoulders as your shampoo or Clear or whatever shampoo you like. You're using that. The first thing the you're using that because you got that's the first thing you heard from the promotion. You like the promotional video. Oy, it reduces dandruff, it reduces hair fall. So may nakita nimo sa TV or any commercials or reviews from your friend. Uy, nindot na siya kay yani yani yani. So you get to buy a certain product and then you get to use the same the certain product. And then feeling mo okay man. Okay ra na ako man ang product. Okay ra para na ako ang product. O yan ko, okay lang. Yung neutral na feeling ba? Okay lang. So that's when you get to go into habit. Mahabit na nimo siya nga sige palit because that's the first thing you have tested and you are okay with it. And you even try different brands because you think it's not worth it. Diba? Ani lang ko kay nakasuway man ko niya, okay man ko. So di na ako mag-exert og effort na musuway sa lain kay ba mo kung okay na ko ani nga. So that's what habitual buying behavior is. Okay? Now let's go to emotional logical versus emotional decisions. When we say logical, it's rational, objective. We when we before we buy a product, we when we say rational, so it involves your mind, logic. Okay, so logic. So before you select a partner for your life, a boyfriend perhaps, or a girlfriend, then a girlfriend, you need to be rational. You need to be rational. So what would happen if magkadayon ni? Unsa may mahitabo? Unsa may mga adjustments that I have to make? Unsa may nindot pa ning attitude, nindot pa yung batasan? Unsa may buhaton ako ug mangyani? Di ba? So that is being logical. That's involving your mind. Okay? So like for example, na siya sakyan na. Dato siya, financially stable, guwapo, okay na kayo. Oh, so these are the things, yeah, these are examples. Objective, we need to objective. So direct. Kung unsay gusto nimo mao jud. Kung unsay answer ang tubag, mao ra jud na answer. Objective. Yeah? And we hope and assume that controls all our decision making. Huh? We hope and assume that controls all our decision making. We are talking about products, our attitude towards the product. This is still um, factors that will affect your buying decision. So we're not talking about anything other else. We are solely focused on marketing or buying a product. Okay, so we hope and assume that controls or all our buying decision making. Okay, so that's what logical is. I'm gonna explain it to you. I'm gonna explain it to you later after the emotional. Now let's go to the emotional. Emotions, your feelings, yeah? Your feelings na ay nanguyab sa imuha. And then you're not gonna be logical about it. You're just gonna act with your senses. I'm so in love with him. That's why I'm gonna I'm gonna say yes. No. That wasn't you weren't thinking about his his stability in his work, occupation, in his income, or the assets that he has in life. You weren't thinking about it at all because you were involved emotionally. Nadala ka sa iyahang mga pa-cute-cute or unsa ba. You were involved emotionally. So that you're not thinking logically. You're not thinking about those sides. You're just keeping it involved with your feelings alone. Okay? These are attuned to our sensory experiences. Now let's relate it to buying a product. When you buy a product, when we say emotional, you kita ka og product. Kita ka og um, pink na cellphone. Wow, nindot kay siya kay. Favorite color ni mo ang pink. Your favorite color is pink, and then you saw a pink iPhone. And you said, "Wow, that's really great. I wanna buy that. I love it so much. I love how it looks like. It's pink. Oh my God, it's my preference. I like that product." So that's your emotional. That's your emotional side. Ganahan ka sa product because it's your preferred. Yeah, nindot kayo mong feelings para sa product because it's your favorite. Now let's go to the logical side. When we say we hope and assume, that means to say we are not sure. Diba? Yung assume lang ta. Ga-hope lang ta nga mo'y mo control sa atong decision making. For in fact, in buying a product, when we say logical side in buying a product, sometimes we believe nga, like for example, you like the product because it's pink, it's iPhone, it's pink. When we say rational, you're gonna think it through. What happens if I buy the product? What happens if I buy the product? Can I afford the product? What happens then? Am I gonna be happy with the product? Am I gonna be happy with the product? Financially wise, can I afford the product? Do I buy it monthly basis or installment basis? Something like this, something that you need to think of. But here goes the fun fact. Here goes the fun fact. That's why we say we hope and assume that controls all our decision making. Because what happens is when you get to see an iPhone na ganahan mo, we are not gonna be rational. We rationalize, meaning instead of thinking it through like how I told you before nga, so what will happen if I buy the product? Those are the negative sides, diba? You're thinking of the negative sides. But when we buy a product when we want to buy a product that we like, we tend to rationalize things. Like we give positive, we give positive feedback to our brains. Like for example, like for example, yes, I'm gonna buy the product because it's 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 very it's very great. The applications are good. The software is really great. I mean, if I buy the product, I'm gonna be really happy about it. Okay? I'm just gonna buy it in cash or installment. I'm gonna buy installment. Kaya man ako kayo mo buy ani for installment basis. Afford kayo na ako. So that is the fun fact about it. If instead of thinking it through, what would happen if I buy it, your mind tells you to buy this because your mind tells you to buy this kay need na nimo. Kailangan na nimo paliton kailangan na nimo siya paliton because of this and that. So that's it. That's what we mean by logical and emotional decisions. Now let's go to we're in the next we're going to the next chapter, which is consumer market segmentation. Okay, let's have a quick discussion about it. When we say demographic, these are quantifiable and factual statistics of population. When we say quantifiable, we can really put a number into it. We are certain that that's the amount or that's the number. We are certain that that's the actual number. Like for example, the statistics of population. Everything that the National Statistical Office um, do or quantifies is an example. Like for example, census, diba? How much is the population in this area? So that is demographic because you can quantify, you can put the actual amount of the people living in that area. Counted siya kayo, very factual or very factual. Your age, your sex, very your sex. Okay, how many males are in this area? How many females are in this area? That's called part of demographic. Now let's go to behavior. How we behave in buying a product. How we behave in buying a product. So behavior refers to how we behave when buying a product, whether these actions may be conscious or unconscious in nature. This includes issues such as when do we typically buy a product, what we look for when buying a product, how loyal we tend to buy. So behavioral. We have discussed this already during the buying behaviors, buying roles. So these are behavioral. Okay, so that's what behavioral is. Let's go to psychographic. How consumers see and feel about themselves. Hence, psycho or of the mind. Diba? Psycho of the mind. This pertains to um, the social class. That like what we have discussed, the socio-economic class. So psychographic. It affects how you feel about a certain product. It will affect. Like for your income class, it's predetermined. It's predetermined yung hani mo palitan because of your socio-economic class. That's psychographic. It's in the mind. It's in the mind of the consumers. For example, di ko kabay ani kay I cannot afford it because I don't have that much of um money. And also um Nike, di ba? Nike and Adidas are brands that people look after to when they're in sports because that's how they market the product. That's how they market the product. Converse, what other brands? Uh, uh, Con- Converse is more on the laag-laag na side. Di ba? Kanang for daily use lang. But for Nike, it's more on sports because that's how they market that. But that's not psychographic. Psychographic is your feeling towards the product. It is your feelings toward the product or your mind towards the product. Yeah, you are. I'm a sporty type of dude, so I should buy Nike or Adidas because I'm more on sports. So that's psychographic. Geographic, when we say geographic, it's the physical location of the market. The general characteristics of the location. Unsa may purma sa giplanuhan ninyo nga ana magtukod sa inyong business. Unsa may character? What are the characteristics of the location? Is it cold there? Is the weather always sunny? Or bulingon ba siya kaayo? So those are geographic. Those are the geographic. And those are the things we have to look into when segmenting the market. Like for example, we segment a market by in uh, basing demographic. So the products that you are gonna sell is more centered on female apparels or a female kanang gamitonon sa mga babae, specific products nga magamit sa mga babae. So when we say demographic segmenting, you are gonna look for the statistical data nga nagsayo pila ka babae ani nga ani nga lugar. Pila ka babae diri. I know that's geographic. No, when we say demographic, we are targeting for example, quantifiable and factual statistics. We are targeting the female. So how many females are wanting to buy this product? So those are quantifiable and factual statistics. Or you're making toys. You're making toys. So how many children wants to buy this certain kind of toy? So that is demographic. Okay, let's go to psychographic. How consumers see and feel about themselves. Psychographic. So psychographic. Your feelings towards the product. Psychographic. Okay. Um. Ani nga lugar. This type of segment of the market. Like for example, like how Nike and Adidas market their shoes, di ba? They're more on appealing to the sporty sporty nga mga tao because that's psychographic. It's in the mind, di ba? It's in the mind. Unsay gusto nato. Sporty man ko, so palito na ko Nike or Adidas. Gusto ko daily use lang, so I'd rather buy Converse or something like that. That's psychographic. Geographic location, ang imuhang, for example, mo magbaligya ka og jacket. Baligya ka og jacket. Kanang baga jud kay nga jacket. As in, mas baga pa sa mong naong. Okay, that jacket. Alright. Baligya ka og jacket. So you are gonna take a look into the general characteristics of the location. Manong maligya mo jacket nga baga kayo sa lugar nga init kayo, di ba? It doesn't make any sense. So that's how you look into the graphic. When we say the behavioral, um, when we compare it with the psychographic, it's how we think. Behavior refers to how we behave when buying a product. This may be conscious or unconscious. So, unsa may, example, aggressive ba ang mga tao aning dapita? What are the recent service, the recent research that we have done? Pag introduce aning nga product aning dapita, unsa may gibati sa mga tao, unsa may nahitabo sa mga tao, aggressive ba sila sa pagpalit sa product or dili? So that is behavioral. Okay, now let's go to targeting. Okay, when we say targeting, once different possible market, targeting is done after segmenting the market. So once different possible market segments have been identified for a particular industry, the next step is to select the segment that can be most sensible targeted at. Okay, so these are the steps. So when we say targeting, we need to take into account our our business also, and take into account we have to think about these steps for these important aspects first. Always consider the firm's size and growth. Okay. Objectives. When selecting a market for it to target, if there is a need for high growth, then there is a need to select a market that offers such capacity for growth. On the other hand, if firm chooses to grow gradually in order to minimize a strain, limited resource and working capital, then small market may prove. Okay? So always consider the firm's size and growth. For example, gamay lang nga negosyo ang nasa imuha, gamay lang nga negosyo. Like, karinderya lang nga ginagmay. So you're not gonna put it in the city where daghan kayo tao, dili ka kakaapas sa demand sa tao, sa purchases sa tao, kay daghan na siya kayo. Diba? The size. But, if you are looking forward nga mapag-grow imuhang business, so butang mo sa city, then daghan kayo na malit. Daghan kayo na malit. And you are happy about it because your products keep on being bought by consumers. Then you have the opportunity to grow. And then you expand your business. Padakon nimo ang imong location, imong size sa kitchen imong padakon. So that's how that's things that we have to consider in targeting. Also, we have to assess the structural attractiveness of the potential market. What do you mean by that? It is easy for anybody to enter this. Is it easy for anybody to enter this segment? Like for example, you are targeting consumers that sa may example lang, like in case when the segment can actually bond together and become pursue. Easy to enter the segment. Like, sa may example na structural attractiveness. Kanang, for example, maka-attract ba imuhang business o competitors? Like for example, kung okay, like for example, nakagama naka business aning lugar. Okay? Gama naka business aning that's your plan. Aning naka business. And then is it possible nga dali ra kay siya masudlan og laing competitor? Like the population itself, diba? The population itself. Gatinda ka og ginagmay lang nga bakery and all the people in that area buys your product and you have gamay ra kayo ang population na nga lugar. Now, do you think na kung gamay ra ang population na nga lugar, do you think nga naay laing competitor nga musud-an ang area? Nakaibaw sila nga gamay ang population? No. But that's it. You have to assess if the structural attractiveness is there kung dako ba kayo ang market para masudlan og laing competition. So that's it. That's structural attractiveness. The third one is identify the firm's objectives and resources. Okay. So in line ba atong objectives aning pagbaligyan nato aning product? In line ba? Makaya ba sa atong resources o anita nga anita mo ani na to ibutang ato ang business, makaya ba nato makaapas ba ang supplier nato dire, duol ra ba ta sa supplier, dali ra ba ang pag-supply sa ato ang mga resources diring dapita. So you have to put into account that if magsigig ka kurot niya hinay ang delivery sa inyong product, that would give you a bad name, that will give a bad name to your business, di ba? Okay, so that's it. And assess the segment's potential economies of scope. Um, if you are economies of scope. Okay? Economies of scope meaning kung mag-establish ka og business, magpaduol ka sa imong mga main suppliers. For example, tukod ka og burger shop. So unsay mahitabo, magpaduol ka og bakery. Kay eventually kay ang bakery mo supply nimo sa buns. Magpaduol sad ka sa supplier of meat. Kaya ang supplier of meat may mohatag nimo og meat para sa inyong patties. So that's economies of scope. You need to be closer to the people that will help you in your business, that will supply your business. Okay? Segment by segment invasion. Certain segment movements are acceptable while others are. In fact, a brand that is best known for children's shoes may find it far more difficult to penetrate the adult market. So, unsa may goal sa inyong company? Are you planning to stay in this specific segment? Ana ra ba jud ka? Or gusto pa ka mo penetrate sa lain nga segment? For example, gagama ka o for kids lang nga apparel or for kids lang nga clothing. Sayon ba para nimo para mo transition into making a product for the adults? Sayon ra ba nimo mo transition ana? Kaya ba sa imong economies of scope or sa imong resources, kaya ba nimo nga mo penetrate ana nga market? So that's segment by segment invasion. If is that what your company wants? You want to go, you want to penetrate segment by segment, or you just want to stay in the segment that you have. So that's what targeting is. That's what segment by segment invasion means. Okay, let's go to the organizational market segmentation. Okay, organization. Now let's go to the organizational market segmentation. First is the characteristics of organizational market. So when we say organizational market segments, meaning to say na ang imuhang target are the big organizations. Diba? Excuse me, I have to drink water first, guys. Arat katulang tutunlan mo ko COVID. Okay, guys. Hey, I'm back. Okay, so you're gonna be dealing with organizational market segmentation means you're gonna be dealing with private or public institutions. So meaning ikaw na mag-supply sa ang imuhang market are kumbaga ikaw wholesaler ka. Okay? So wholesaler ka. Ideally ka wholesaler, ikaw ang manufacturer supplier. Okay? Ikaw ang manufacturer supplier sa mga nagnegosyo. So yan na. So dili na ang imong target kadto ng mga organizations, dili na ang katong mga customers. Okay? So that is organizational market segmentation. So what are the characteristics of organizational market segmentation? First one is fewer and larger buyers. You will be dealing with private and public institutions, and these tend to be few in number for any given industry. But when they do the purchase item, they tend to do so in bulk. So, first characteristic is fewer and larger buyer. Okay? When we say fewer, gamay ra sila nga mopalit mo, pero dinaghan ang inang palit. So that's what we mean by fewer and larger. Diba? When a business buys supplies for their business, they buy in bulk para makasarap palit. So that's what we mean by fewer and larger buyer. Close customer relationship. Kay gamay raman imuhang supplyan, meaning to say you will have a close customer relationship. Mas duol inyong relationship. Kay seryosohay na ba yan ako? Dinag ko na ba yung orders na? So you will have a mutual understanding with each other. Okay? The next one is potential inelastic demand. I don't think it's potential for inelastic demand. We want to increase or decrease its price. For example, you raise your price. Okay. Potential inelastic demand. Ikaw na potential nimo as supplier nga kung ikaw ra ang gisalikan sa imuha sa mga businesses na gapa-supply sa imuha, if you are the only one, if you are the only supplier nga ilang gisalikan anang area, tendency is if you are gonna raise the price or you are gonna have kanang pasakaan imong price, tendency is they have no choice but to buy the product because they need your supplies. Wala silang laing supplier nga makita. So, ma-force sila og buy sa imong product. Okay? So, next one is geographic concentration. Suppliers and buyers alike will locate in the same area to minimize the transport. Okay. So, another characteristic of organizational markets, kung supplier ka, magpaduol jud ka sa imong gisupplyan, it's not because of the it's not only because of the reason nga ikaw ang supplier nila, dapat dira juga. It's not plainly about that, but because of it's gonna be cost efficient. Because if magpalayo ka kayo, ikaw supplier, magpalayo ka kayo sa imuhang ginasupplyan, you have to have additional expenses first for in delivering the goods and services, delivering the goods or the supplies to your to market to the market. So mas dako ang magastos sa organization kung ingani magpalayo ka or mas gamay mapadul ka, mas dako magpalayo. Okay? Okay, next one is derived and fluctuating demand. Dealing with organizations, the demand for your product will actually be a function of demand for their products. This is especially true when supply materials for their production, but this is also likely to be true for the sales of non-competent business is good for your client, then chances are their budgets for purchase go up as well. This also means, however, that demand can derived and fluctuating demand. So what we mean by this is that the supplier is going to study, will have to look into the sales of the one they are supplying to. Kung nakita nila nga daghan kay namalit anang business nga nagpa-supply sa inyo, tendency is they have the ability to fluctuate. And they have the ability to sakaan ang presyo. Kay nakita nila nga daghan ang namalit. Okay? So, napoy tendency nga if gamay ang namalit, tendency is kung gamay ra namalit, gamay ra po na supply mapaliton. No. When we say derived and fluctuating demand, kung daghan kaayo ang kita nimo, daghan kayo, there's a lot of people buying their products that you are supplying to, tendency is daghan po kayo paliton nga supply ang kadto nga business gikan sa imo. But when nakita niyo mga gamay ra pud kayo mga consumers nga namalit ato nga business, tendency is gamay ra sad ang supply nga ilang paliton gikan nimo. So that's what it means. Now, we also have buying rules for um, organizational markets. So we also have initiators. These are the ones who identifies problems. Okay, influencers. These are the one who affects the buying decisions. So they're the same lang in the aspect of the buyers, but ato lang usbon organization na ni siya sa organization na siya supplier na ni siya nga point of view. And but there's one difference, the gatekeepers. So these are examples of gatekeepers are the government. Uh, they 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 have the ability to adjust whatever they want. Prices of your product, the kind of product that will go into that specific market, kung allowed ba ka nga mo sell ana nga product diri nga market. So those are the gatekeepers. Okay, like for example, Shopee. Shopee is there's actually a store in Shopee that sells adult toys. Okay, there's a segment in Shopee that sells that. But when we go into the public markets like malls, wala kay makita ngayon. Yeah, so those are the work of the gatekeepers. They tend to tell the business on what certain of products are allowed to be sold in this specific location. Okay, all right. Now let's go to the buying process of the organization. Okay, the first one is probably this is the client's point of view. Okay, okay. Problem recognition. The first step is that uh, the client organization acknowledges the need for a particular product or service. So, ganahan magtukod ko ani nga business, the client says, I need a supplier. I need to find a supplier. Next thing is gonna happen is general need description. This is the start of the formal buying process where forms are filled out to justify the need for the purchase. Okay, general need description. This is when the client finds a potential supplier. So, mupalit siya. So, fill up siya mga forms para makapalit ani nga supplier. And then the product specification. Technical personnel are engaged in this process in order to provide the specific technical details for the needed product. After filling up the forms, there is a product specification. So, unsa man nga product ang gipangita sa imong client? Specific product, specific brand. Supplier can give you a lot of brands. For example, kanang hardware stores, there's a lot of brands that supplier can give you, but you product specification unsa may specific nga brand imong ipangita. Okay, so nakita nimo naa dito ang imong ipangita nga mga product specifications. Pero dili na siya mao imong nakitaan nga mga dili na siya mao ang nakitaan imong nga supplier ha. Daghan pa kag laing supplier nga nakitaan. You have a lot of options to select from, but you are searching for the very suitable nga kanang option. Okay, so supplier search or proposal solicitation. So okay, and then the bidding comes in. Do you know, guys, that suppliers actually goes uh, goes goes to bid. Like for example, class pictures or ay kanang graduation photos without the one who takes your picture, especially for big schools, they hold a bidding event in order to get the most appropriate uh, um, service provider or the one who takes the picture. Unsa man nga package ang pinakanindot. So mo to siya. That's what bidding is for. Okay? And then supplier selection, that when the client selects which supplier is he gonna be in partnership. Is he gonna be in partner with? So after that, order written specification, consistent na ang pag-buy sa product sa client, gikan sa supplier, nindot consistent ng trade, and then performance review. How is our fund? Unsa may kumusta man ang performance sa ato ang supplier? Okay ra ba ang supplier na to? On time ba ang delivery? Nindot ba ang mga supply nga gi-deliver okay ba? Wala ba diferensya sa mga ipang deliver? So do we look for a different, this is when this is when clients try to figure out if they want to look for a different supplier, something like that. Okay, that's performance evaluation. Let's go to chapter 4, positioning. Okay, let's go. This is very quick discussion. Okay, chapter 4, positioning. Or when we say positioning, no, it appears to be a place where you position your kanang your business entity, diba? Positioning. That's where you position your business. Perhaps that's what comes into our minds. But actually, it is an act of establishing a strong brand name for a product. Okay, it's it's the act of inculcating your brand into the minds of your consumers. Or unsa may angay niyo buhaton nga magpuyo na sa mind sa tao, magpuyo na sa utok sa mga tao ang imong product. Let's say for example, Jollibee, McDonald's. These are there's a lot of fast food chains out there. But these two brands are considered to be the leading brands in fast food chains because they have established a strong brand image already for the product. Diba? Daghan kay mamalit nila. Because they have established that position in the minds of the people. Nga yan ilang product. Excuse me, nga yan ilang product. It has something to do with their marketing strategy. For example, Jollibee, langhap sarap. It appeals to the mind of the Filipinos na before we taste the food, we have to smell it first. If it smells delicious, then we have to eat it. So, muna siya yung slogan sa Jollibee. So, positioning is a space that the product owns in the minds of the customers. So, in order to attain those types of, in order to have to gain a space in the minds of the customers, you have to consider points of difference. Okay, points of difference. What makes your product different from other competitors? Huh? What makes your product different? What makes your product stand out? Uh, the consumers have to question themselves, what will happen if I buy this product? They're of the same product. The only thing is that they have different brands. So your goal is to make the consumers think that I have to buy this product because this is the best product, even though nga daghan kayo product kay ngani, but this is the best. Okay, so that's the points of difference. What makes your product stand out, or what makes your brand the best? Okay, so points of parity. When we say points of parity, examples are these are Jollibee and McDonald's. Points of parity. Okay, what are the market expectations about their products? When we say Jollibee, the market expects na i-burger ana. Fast food siya. Ang mga baligya ana na i-burger, kay fast food man siya na i-burger na chicken, na spaghetti and other fast food. Ano siya? When we say McDonald's also points of parity, kay naman siya sa fast food if na ay burger ana, na ay chicken ana because it's a fast food chain. So when we say points of parity, these are the expectations that the consumers have when we say fast food chain. When we say fast food chain, ang ang kinunhan nga masud sa mind sa mga consumers are the type of products that fast food chains are offering. So that's the first thing that comes into the minds of the consumers. Okay, like for example, when we talk about soap, murag na it's preconceived in the mind or in the senses of the consumers nga when we say soap dapat humot siya, dapat humot ang soap. So kung may soap nga dili ta kay humutan, that's the downside of it. Okay, so those are the points of parity. Packaging can greatly impact the minds of the customers. Example of this is Coke. Diba? Coke didn't have that shape before. Coke was so plain before ng mga but in order to make the customers comfortable, they changed the shape of their packaging. From this shape, they made it into like this, so that the hands of the customers dali na siya tayo magunitan, comfortable na siya imnon. So that's it. Okay. So that's the end of our discussion for today, guys. I know it's a very long discussion, but anyways, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? That's just the way of life. Okay, guys. See you soon. Take care always, and God bless. Goodbye, guys.